Mark Thiessen, a former presidential speechwriter, Washington Post columnist, and fellow with the American Enterprise Institute, and Lanny Davis, who's former special counsel to President Clinton, columnist for The Hill, and author of Crisis Tales. We begin with Mark. Mark, thanks for being here. And so what has happened here, so the audience knows, is that the president, when asked whether he had underestimated ISIS earlier in August, said there's no doubt their advance, their movement over the last several months has been more rapid than the intelligence estimates. So he basically said he hadn't been told, and he had said earlier that he was caught by surprise by this group. And what Catherine is telling us tonight is that now a Pentagon official, a former Pentagon official, anonymously, is coming to us and saying that's not true.
And that's very important because this is typical for this administration. They're trying to blame it on the intelligence community and throw them under the bus. The fact is the intelligence community warned President Obama about the ISIS threat. They warned there was a growing danger in the Middle East that he had to deal with, and he decided not to. And he attended his briefings. We know that. I looked at his records in January of 2014, the month that described them as a JV threat. He attended all but 3 of the daily intelligence briefings. So he was actually getting these intelligence briefings, unlike in his first term, and he still didn't do anything about it.
So he was there getting the briefings in January. He tells the world not to worry about ISIS, which has captured Fallujah because it's JV. And now you've got Mark Thiessen and even Dianne Feinstein, you are not politically aligned, agreeing on the following. Here she is yesterday.
I think it's a major varsity team. I've seen nothing that compares with its viciousness.
So why the conflicting message from the president?
Because the intelligence community was telling him something he didn't want to hear. They were preventing him with what they call the phenomenon of the inconvenient fact, which is that a new terrorist danger was rising in the Middle East. Remember, the President Obama had been just telling the American people, the tide of war is receding. We can focus on nation building here at home. We can withdraw. I'm not the president who starts wars. I'm the president who ends wars. And the intelligence community was telling him there's a new terrorist danger rising. If he accepted that judgment, he would have to do something about it. And not only would he have to accept, if he accepted their judgment, do something about it, he would have to acknowledge that his policies were contributing to the problem, that he had withdrawn all American troops from Iraq, that he had done nothing about the crisis in Syria, which, as Hillary Clinton pointed out, created a vacuum that the jihadi filled.
Well,
so he would have to make difficult policy changes and look himself in the mirror and see what he's doing wrong.
It is like Britt was saying at the top of the hour that, you know, he has an ideology that believes if we sort of withdraw from these situations that it will lead to more peace in the world. And he is not alone. Many on the left feel this way. And actually, if you look at the polling, Mark, the American public, the most recent is from January, they don't want to get involved in these crises involving ISIS. There was a poll done by Politico a month or so ago. Now, it only polled the most competitive House and Senate districts, as they were looking at it from a politics standpoint. But those folks, that 60% said, we don't feel the need to go after ISIS. 67%. Military action should be limited to direct threats against the homeland. And President Obama at a Democratic fundraiser this weekend said, we don't have that.
Well, you know what? That'll change a lot if they hit us here at home. I mean, this is the problem, is that the president is not dealing with the threat. He has allowed a threat to fester and become created on his watch. He allowed them space. This is the group that we had defeated in the surge in 2007, and he allowed them to regroup and reconstitute themselves, and now they're beheaded 2 American citizens. So if he doesn't do something about this threat, then they're going to come after us. This is not, I mean, everybody from Dianne Feinstein to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to Secretary Hagel says this is an imminent threat. He went to a fundraiser this last weekend and said, we're pretty safe. Yeah. This isn't a big danger.
He said the world's always been messy.
If he's wrong, those words are going to come to haunt him.
9 days before 9/11. Mark, thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Now we go